So, John, if you could be any animal in the world, which animal would you be?
Well, I'm going to throw that back at you. What animal do you think I would be?
Hey. You're not going to like this. The first thing that comes to my head is an orangutan.
Go on.
Well, now getting you ahead, what it might be like to turn into an orangutan over the course of, say, a week.
Okay, well, not good. I don't really relish turning into an orangutan over any period of time, frankly.
Well, you're halfway there.
Ooh.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. Really, how could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Box Set, a podcast where we pitch prequels, sequels, and spin-offs to films that don't have any. I'm Harry, and joining me as always is John.
Hello.
And this week, my friend Ollie has come on.
Hello.
Ollie, why have you picked Black Swan? And welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I picked Black Swan because I think the film is nuts. And there needs to be a sequel because it's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be an interesting film to do a sequel to, and I'm really happy with my idea of the sequel.
Okay, well, we'll get to that.
Hold your horses, Ollie.
Sorry, I'm getting too excited. I'm just ready to go.
So what about it do you think is nuts? Come on.
Well,
I mean, you've seen it, so...
I fully agree.
Yeah.
It is
Well, I think
bonkers, the whole
I
thing.
think so. I love Darren Aronofsky. Now, when you see the poster, Natalie Portman, she's a nice woman. You see her, you think, oh, a film about a ballerina. You know what? I'm going to bring my daughter Beatrice. I don't have a daughter, but if I did have a daughter and it was about a ballerina film, I'd think her name would be Beatrice. So you think, I'll bring my daughter Beatrice. You know, it looks nice.
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching it like, huh? What? Oh. You know, ooh. Also, when I'm watching a film, I imagine myself as a character in the film, and I'm the one that talks sense.
Yeah.
So I would be in the film and be like, is this important?
Thank you.
Yes.
Like, wow, you know.
Her whole life revolves around
Just
ballet, doesn't it?
Do you, not just that, but also her mum. It's like, oh, you know, you need to calm down. Like a coffee or go for McDonald's. You know, just calm down. So she needed a friend.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. That's interesting that you said that, yeah, if somebody was to see this film blind, it doesn't happen very often these days because obviously you see trailers and there's a lot, the internet is what it is. And I mean, I remember when I saw this film in the cinema, I knew exactly what I was getting into. I'd love to imagine if you did see this film, like completely with no context for what Darren Aronofsky does, for no context for what the film was about, just as you say, it's Natalie Portman in a film about ballet. Imagine that reaction, it would be insane.
It came out in a time where we're getting more and more trailers, but it was still like coming up to 8 years ago, and things have changed a lot over those years. So it was fully possible that people may just not have known anything about it. And then you just get this shock and people are like, I'm never coming to the cinema again. Come with me, just come with me. No more films for you, you know. And so I think that's why I thought it was a bit nuts.
I would definitely fear for little Beatrice's mental well-being after sitting through this
No,
film.
we'll
Not a
have
film
to
for children.
watch like the nice Disney films for a month to sort of de-stress the poor. And she would never be a ballerina. She's going to be an accountant.
Yeah, this film definitely does not make ballet look like an aspirational career choice.
An accountant for you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So which other Aronofsky films have you seen then?
So I've seen The Fountain.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen part of Pi.
Okay.
I've blanked the name.
Requiem for a Dream?
Yes, that's the first one I saw. And I remember going to see that film. So it was my first year of uni. And I went with a friend of mine. It was a Friday night. And we were going to see Requiem for a Dream. And then we were going to go out afterwards.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I know exactly what that would have done to you.
You know what? After seeing that, I'm drinking kale juice. I'm not touching anything. Do you want a paracetamol? No, you'll get addicted. You know, you're just like, whoa, and I'll end up in prison or an arm chopped off. You know,
It's a horrifying film, yeah.
wow. So,
I can't wait to watch
Oh
this.
yeah,
This
that's
sounds
next
great.
week's episode, yeah.
Sounds right up my street.
It just, you're watching it, and you know Jennifer Connelly, like she's a great actress, but generally she's in the misery films.
Yeah.
And that should have been, and Jared Leto also, he's in the weird films, but the Wayne brothers in it. So you think, oh, okay, there's going to be comedy. Nope. Nope.
Decidedly not.
Prison. And then I watched The Fountain, and I think that is one of the most beautiful films. I think Darren Aronofsky. See, you've got to either say Darren Aronofsky or Daz. You can't just say Darren. Darren sounds like the guy you meet down the pub.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Daz or a Ren. You know, I think he'd be a Ren.
Yeah.
And he's artsy. So it's Darren Aronofsky.
Let's say Dasky, because
Let's say
Aronofsky is
Dasky.
hard to say. It's kind of
Dasky, it just... Oh, okay, we'll say Dasky.
I like
you know,
Daz-
the
Daz-a-razza.
man.
Dazza.
Okay, we're going to call him Daz-a-razza
Yep.
for the rest of the...
I'm just thinking of him as like a Cockney wide boy. Like,
Daz-a-razza. When I watched it, so I had a film day, so I watched Sunset Boulevard first.
cool.
Then I watched The Fountain. And then I watched There Will Be Blood.
Wow.
So it was a very light-hearted day.
How do you feel at the end of that?
I was a mess. So basically, Sunset Boulevard, loved it. The Fountain was just really emotional. And then There Will Be Blood was really bleak. And so it was just basically, I went from the drama to the sadness to there's no point in living. And I went to work the next day. So that was wonderful.
Now, have you seen any Darren Aronofsky Dazza-razza films before, Harry?
No, I've not. This is
your first one.
Yes, my first one.
So-
I've seen Black Swan before. I saw it. I don't know, probably introduced by my mum or something.
Another
like,
classic
back in the
Fiona
day.
Chapel choice. Yeah, just sit the kids in front of the fire. And
Yeah.
Put on a nice, bleak, horrifying, psychological horror film.
She probably thought, oh, what a lovely Natalie Portman. She's a nice woman. Let's all watch it together.
Oh no! His mother is a monster. Like, she made him watch Dom Hemingway, which is this incredibly violent,
Yeah, I
foul-mouthed.
know.
You know Dom Hemingway?
Sunshine. As a child as well, you were a child when you watched these films, yeah.
Yeah, as a child when I watched most of these films. So you've been very interested in all the weird things in my life and the weird things that I do that we're not going to
Yes.
say on air.
I'm fascinated.
You're just wondering where all this comes from? It's because my mother has a very weird... Well, it's not really necessarily her film choices and stuff. She doesn't know what she's choosing. For example, Sunshine. She chose Sunshine thinking, oh, it'd be lovely to watch a film called Sunshine. That'd be good,
So
wouldn't
it's
it?
like you say, yeah. It's like,
My father's the same.
I think it's exactly the same. It's just like, oh, a nice film about ballet. That'd be good, wouldn't it? That'd be
Yeah,
nice, fun film. Great, yeah.
I feel your pain, Harry.
but what did you make of it then, Harry? I mean, then and now. Like, what's
So Black Swan, well, it's scary. It's painful to watch at times, when it's supposed to be.
Yes.
And I certainly got a lot more out of it this time rather than watching it as a young boy.
Okay. As a wee lad.
As a wee lad back in the day.
So 2010, if you watched it when it came out, so that was like 8 years ago, you'd have been maybe 14. Is
Mhm.
that right? Yeah. If you watched it the year it came out, so yeah, probably a bit young
Yeah.
to appreciate it.
You would have been able to see it in the cinema.
I doubt I saw it in the cinema.
I did, and I really appreciate the fact that I saw it in the cinema.
So
because
intense.
it is intense because I remember it being incredibly loud. The score was so loud in the cinema. You don't really notice when you watch it on DVD now, but it was a real visceral experience.
I
Similar to
find you do,
Dunkirk.
because I find it's one of those films where it's got bits that are very quiet.
Yes.
People are just talking like this. And then all of a sudden the music comes in and it's super loud.
Yeah.
And you just got to constantly have your finger on the volume
Yeah.
or upset your neighbours.
I was the same. Oh, I was on edge the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Because it was the noises, and also with ballet, so I like dance programs. I think they're fantastic, and I have a thing for the ballet. I think it's the fact that people can do it, but it's quite a visceral dance form because people are dancing on their toes.
Oh yeah.
But something that looks so pleasant, all the work that goes into it. So I found that really interesting in terms of
Yeah,
just
same.
seeing the nature of it, like how much work she must have put in to be that, and you have to be perfect, and how Darren used the sounds of her turning on the floor.
Sorry, who?
Dazza-razza.
There we go.
Sorry, Dazza-razza. I you won't know who we're talking about. Just her turning on the floor, her wrapping her feet, or like when she would get cuts, you're like, oh, you know, it was really, really effective because I felt at times I couldn't watch it, but I couldn't not watch it at the same time. So yeah.
One thing it does very well is it depicts the kind of the physical toll that it takes to be at the top of your profession in any kind of athletic pursuit, whether it be a sports or in this case ballet, because as you say, she's putting herself through so much. She's so tiny, she's so thin, she's just living on fruit. You see in the first scene that she doesn't eat any cake, she just eats the cantaloupe.
It's weird that her mum got her that cake.
Yes, because
Like, I feel like her mum was the sort of person who would not be giving her cake and sort of forcing her to just eat fruit and to be as slight as she was.
But then again, I think it's clear the mum had problems too.
True.
And so...
Very much so. Well,
Don't know where
just
you
to,
got that from.
just to very quickly... Just to quickly backtrack, just for those who may not have seen the film, just do a very quick plot summary. So, Natalie Portman plays Nina, who is a dancer at the New York Ballet Company, and the new season is announced, and they're putting on a production of Swan Lake, and she dreams of becoming the principal dancer. The previous principal is aging out of the bracket of being able to perform anymore. She's played by Winona Ryder, so she's kind of on the way down, as Natalie is on the way up. It's kind of an all about Eve kind of scenario. Natalie Portman's character Nina is very precise. She's a perfectionist. She dedicates her life to the craft of ballet to the exclusion of everything else. Like, the entire film is centered around her apartment and the ballet studio. But the director, played by Vincent Cassel, of the production, wants her to embrace the dark side, because Swan Lake involves playing both the white swan, who is very perfect and pristine, and the black swan, who is more villainous and more kind of lustful.
I think that was his interpretation of Swan Lake.
Absolutely, yes. So
That
she wanted
doesn't
that
understand
duology.
it.
So he really pushes her to let go in a way that she's really not comfortable with, because she's a very neurotic, very repressed person. And so as the film goes on, she works really hard to kind of be the perfect ballet dancer, and it takes a huge toll on her both physically and psychologically. It's a very surreal film. She starts to exhibit physical signs such as like feathers growing out of her back, scratches, her nails would bleed constantly, etc. And she starts to believe that one of the new dancers on the troupe, played by Mila Kunis, is attempting to kind of usurp her, and so then that adds a lot of paranoia to it. It's very surreal, it's very intense. There's not a huge amount of plot there, it's more just like an experience. But anyway, and long story short, she thinks she's killed Mila Kunis, but she hasn't, because she's hallucinating a lot. There's a lot of what's real and what isn't in this film. But the film ends with her doing her perfect dance, where she literally becomes the swan, the Black Swan, but then she finds that she has accidentally stabbed herself in the stomach. Whether that's real or not is unclear, but the film ends on an ambiguous note where she may or may not have actually died after giving this perfect performance.
I believe that was real at the end. I believe that was other characters suddenly seeing that she's covered in blood and she's dying there. That was the thing that was definitely real in some way. Because that's the only time that anybody else other than Mila Kunis actually responded to anything that she may or may not have been seeing.
True. I was going to say, I do think it was real, but I think there's an argument to say, was it real? I think you could legitimately argue it wasn't, because even hearing the recap again, because I refreshed my memory of the film today, and so much of it, you don't know what was real, because actually there's a lot of stuff that's not explained.
Oh yeah.
So the scratches on the back, like the feathers on the back, it's never explained what's happened there. We see her bleeding, but we don't know what was real and what was not. But I do think, I'm saying all of that just to say there may be some people who don't think it's real, and I think that's a legitimate thought process.
And I think that's true of certainly all the Darren Aronofsky films that I've seen, is that they do have a lot of symbolism, and they are deliberately quite ambiguous, so it does leave you, it's very much open to interpretation. Because in terms of the scratches, I mean, the feathers are inexplicable, but then only she sees the feathers. The mother does mention several times, there's hints that she has a history of neurotic scratching, where she would scratch herself raw, so it might just be that's just her stress is exhibiting itself in that way.
This time through, I actually noticed a lot of times where she was scratching her back. Like, there'll be a lot of scenes that come where the camera's behind her head and you see her walking, and it just starts with her arm just briefly behind her back, and then it moves as the shot opens. There was one detail which I missed every other time I've seen this, that I noticed this time through. There's one point, sort of about a third of the way in, where she's sitting against a wall. She's got an open back top on. There's one point where she like leans forward and moves to the side. I'm not sure, but you see that there's a blood stain on the wall.
Oh wow! Okay.
That looks like it's been there for ages, but like it's definitely got a hint of red to it, and it's exactly where those scratches on her back were. And I love little details like that.
Yeah, and I think what I like about his films is that you can watch them multiple times and you'll see something new. And just the idea of her character. So I'm not a ballet dancer, but I know in that world that everything is so precise. You have to be careful about what you eat. You're asked to be perfect, and they do repetitive stuff, and everything has to be precise. Your feet, your hands, body placement. And so if someone's already got neurological issues, what that would do to them, but how it can go unnoticed as well, because throughout she displays odd behaviour, what I would class as odd behaviour, but then is it odd behaviour to other ballet dancers?
And also the Vincent Cassel character Thomas, who is the dance director, is quite abusive and very manipulative in that sense. He definitely encourages a lot of her Nero sees. He undermines her, he criticises her, he sexually abuses her. You know, especially it's interesting watching it now with all the conversations going on now about harassment in the workplace, especially towards women. It really reflects that with the scene where he like forces himself on her and kisses her, and then when she bites and fights back, he's like, "Good, use that." And it's like, for him, it seems like the performance is everything, and what he will put her through, and any of the other dancers through, anything, as long as he gets the performance he wants. And obviously that just contributes so much to her mental state and her instability.
I thought it'd be good to talk about the role, ground us a little.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be any boundaries between us.
No, me neither.
Good. So, you got a boyfriend?
No.
And you had many in the past?
A few, but no one serious.
And you enjoy making love?
Excuse me?
Oh, come on. Sex. Do you enjoy it? Well, we need to be able to talk about this. I got a little homework assignment for you. Go home and touch yourself. Live a little.
But and then we also see in the character of Winona Ryder in this film, we see the sense of how, as you say, it's not the first time, and how he kind of uses these women, and when no use to them anymore, he casts them aside, and they're kind of left adrift. So
That was good casting.
oh, I was so happy when not only was it Winona, but it was crazy Winona. It was crazy Winona.
It was like, whoa, like.
This was Winona being the most Winona she could be. Like.
And once again, this is when Olu the friend would pop in and just be like, "Are you sure you want to be a ballet dancer? Like, I can sort you out with a job, you know, in finance, because look at crazy Winona.
Yeah.
Is that what you want?
10 years from now, you're going to be wearing a
Like,
messed up wig, and you're going to be...
Ooh, no. Like, sometimes, I always say this, like, if I was in the film instead of Natalie Portman, the film would be 5 minutes. Because I'd see crazy Winona, I'd be like, you know what? I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, I'm out.
I think I'm going to become a teaching assistant, and then it'd be end credits.
Beth? I'm so sorry to hear you're leaving the company.
What'd you do to get this role? He always said you were such a frigid little girl. What did you do to make him change his mind? Did you suck his cock?
Not all of us have to.
You fucking whore.
You fucking little whore.
Oh, what's going on here?
I always love a bit of Winona, and she was really giving it this way. I mean, like, she had the crooked wig, she had the black.
She looked dishevelled.
Yeah, she had the black eyeliner right around her eyes. She was the glass of Chardonnay constantly swilling. Yeah. It was crazy Winona. It was.
I think I went to see. So I went to the cinema to watch this by myself. So I grew up quite prudish.
Mm-hmm.
So like in the house we weren't allowed to see kissing or anything like that. We were forced to close our eyes. And my friend Mark was like, "Are you sure you want to see this?" And me being defiant was like, I'm gonna go watch it. I was like, "Whoa!" But I was sat there like very expressive. And when Crazy Winona went on, I talked to myself when I'm watching a film. I'm like, "Crazy Winona," and she's like the wig crook, like as you said. I was like, "Wow!" Like. This is why you're fired.
Yeah.
Like, you look a mess. Like, come on.
Yeah, Crazy Winona definitely needed like a friend. She needed you to take her to one side and be like, it's okay, girl.
Exactly. And that's where I would pop in. Come on. Let's straighten the wig. Anyway, being silly again. Sorry.
Hey, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. No, don't you do that. Don't you dismiss me like that.
My little princess, please hold it together.
I'm coming by later. I have something for you. It's a token of my appreciation.
Right.
You make the most of it, Nina.
Don't worry.
We've talked obviously the character, but Natalie Portman's performance in this, I have to...
She was fantastic.
Stunning.
Really, really good.
She was lost in that role completely.
Mm-hmm.
She made up for the Star Wars films.
Yes, this was her, definitely her redemption. But yeah, I sometimes find Natalie Portman a little bit hard to get on with as an actress. Not in this. I think she's perfect in this because I think she's a very intense actress. She's always capital letters acting.
Yeah.
She's not someone who's very naturalistic. So sometimes
No.
when I see her in other films, I find her a little bit jarring because she's just doing a little bit too much. But this is perfect because Darren Aronofsky films are on the edge of being too
They're
much.
perfect for
It's
her.
perfect for her. And I wish she'd been... I have seen Mother. I know you didn't see it. I wish she'd been in Mother instead of Jennifer Lawrence because I think she would have been more suited to that role because she plays that. I think she is perfect muse.
What do you think about Mila Kunis in this?
I think she was good. I'm not the biggest fan of her. Again, in films, I don't really rate her terribly high as an actress.
I
But
think she was very well cast in
She
this
was, I
because
think
she doesn't really mirror Natalie Portman in a way, but she contrasted, I would say, because
Yes.
she's so different. And the character she played was so different. She was making ballet look like it's easy
yeah,
and fun.
I think she was a good choice in terms of physically.
Mm.
They're a similar height, same colour hair. I'm just not sure. I just feel like there's a reason she's not really mentioned. When people talk about this film, everyone talked about Natalie Portman, and yes, she's the main star. But watching it, I thought she was fine, and I thought she was good, so it wasn't that she's not talented. I just think there could have been more done with her character, because essentially she's the antagonist.
she is in a way, yeah.
An unaware antagonist.
Well, that was one thing I was going to ask actually. It's kind of ambiguous. Did you read into it that she was on some level trying to undermine Nina, or was it all Nina's paranoia and she was essentially a nice, benign person?
So I think from the little I know of that world, if it was you, if I was Mila, now I'm going to be nice, but if someone's going to offer me the lead role,
Yeah.
I'm going to take it. So I think there was nothing abnormal. I think there was a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it was mostly in Natalie's head. But then the little things that Mila did do, I think it was just natural competitiveness.
Yeah.
So I don't think she was completely innocent. I think she would have jumped at that chance to get that role.
Of course.
However, I don't think it was as much as Nina was in her head making out.
How did you interpret it?
I was just struggling to work out what was real and what wasn't. Because it was all centred around her character, largely. What-
I think everything we see is from Natalie Portman's character, Nina's perspective, so it does skew everything. So you don't get any moments of Lily, the Mila Kunis character, alone or interacting with anyone else. You only see her when Nina sees it. I think Natalie Portman is in every frame of this movie. There's nothing you see that she isn't seeing, so it is all very much skewed. So.
Yeah, I was intrigued by Mila Kunis in this. I really liked her. I thought that without her, the film would definitely be missing something. She was the only person who wasn't serious, which I quite liked.
I agree, Harry. I think she was not the comic relief, but there was a breath of fresh air.
Well, she was everything Nina wasn't. It was that's why she's like the Black Swan to Nina's White Swan, because whereas Nina is incredibly precise, incredibly neurotic, and incredibly process driven, she's very loose, she's very natural, she's naturally gifted, she doesn't have to work as hard. You see she's not as neurotic about her body. There's a scene where she eats a burger, she parties, she has a life outside of ballet, whereas Nina's entire life is ballet. So.
I think what was also interesting in that was, I think they talked about it, that technically Nina was better because ballet is such a precision dance, yet the Black Swan is supposed to be the embodiment of lust, desire, hunger, like all these different things. So it's not supposed to be everything precision. She just does what she wants.
Watch the way she moves. Imprecise, but effortless. She's not faking it.
So how would you compare then to one of the other antagonists in the film, which is the mother? What did you make of that character?
I feel like the mother represented everything that held Nina back. Like, the person that we followed wasn't the real Nina.
Yeah.
You know, like the ballerinas in the music box ballerinas?
Yes.
It's almost like the mum had Nina in a music box.
Oh.
It's like, this is who you're going to be and this is who I'm going to make you. Rather than, my daughter, who do you want to be?
I feel like I went on a real journey with the mum because sometimes she comes across as very supportive, But then they did a very good job of occasionally just throwing in these things where you realise that there's something not right, and it's a very codependent relationship. Like the scene with the cake when she turns so quickly. As soon as Nina says she can't eat the cake, the mother kind of like goes, well, it's trash, and like throws it in the bin. And then there's a lot of stuff where she obviously has no privacy and really infantilises her.
Well, I kind of feel like the mother was what Winona Ryder's character was, but just like 10 years on.
Mm-hmm.
Just like she's accepted that she's a failed ballerina,
Yeah.
and she's now living her life through her daughter.
Oh,
trying to
total
make her
stage
a
mother.
successful ballerina.
Yeah. There's a lot of really interesting doubling that happens in this film in terms of people. You'll see flashes of special effects where characters' faces will change. Again, it'll reflect Nina's state. And one that I found really interesting was the sex scene between Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman, Nina and Lily.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Lily is going down on Nina, and it's a very intense scene. And then she kind of says, "Sweet girl," and she has the voice. I don't know if they used Barbara Hershey, the actress's voiceover, or just did a good impression of her. But it was she sounded like the mum. And then there's a flash, and you see. It's not clear. It's like a split second. It's not clear if Nina's seeing her own face reflected in Lily or her mum's. It's this weird psychosexual thing happening there.
I didn't watch this scene.
Right, okay.
So when it comes
So you didn't watch it?
I didn't. I was in the cinema. I'll explain this. I am a bit of a prude. So generally, like, intense sex scenes. So even when I watched The Wire and there's like sex scene would come, I'd be like, oh goodness. So I could see someone getting stabbed and be like, doo doo doo. But like as soon as sex scene, so I'll be in the cinema. I'm like, what? Oh goodness. Oh my gosh. I'm not a swearer either, so I literally said, oh my gosh, in the cinema. And so all this, I'm sure that's what happened. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I just heard the ooh, and then I sort of would, it's not finished. So this is where I'll stay silent and let Harry, you guys enjoy a lovely conversation.
While on the subject, can we talk about her bedroom?
Go on.
Because Natalie Portman's character, I guess, is supposed to be like in her mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Like 27. I think she's reaching that point where if she doesn't get this one, the sense is that she's going to be too old in the future. This is her moment. So she's probably 27, 28 or something. And she is, as I say, the mother character played by Barbara Hershey really infantilizes her and gives her no privacy. She lives in what seems to be a very small apartment with her mother, who they just come in and out of each other's rooms, and there's no personal space. But her bedroom is the bedroom of a 4-year-old girl. It's like the bright pink duvet, all the teddy bears on the windowsill. There's a scene before the sex scene. There's a scene where, which you may also have found hard to watch, in which Nina masturbates.
Yeah.
She touches herself, and boy does she go to town. Because of the way the bedroom was set out and the way it was shot. I was watching her writhing around the bed. I was like, not in front of the bunny.
It was.
And then, oh no, mum's watching. Like, it's just got worse and worse. Like,
How much do you think that she was pretending to be asleep at that point?
oh yeah,
Just like, I've seen too much.
Her eyes were clamped shut. It was an interesting scene in terms of just what is going on here. And I think we don't really know what was real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about this film, especially like when the feathers were coming out. Like, actually, yeah, it's the bedroom of a 4-year-old, but it's from her perspective. Like, because even though the rest of the apartment was quite sparse, no carpet, just a mirror for her to dance. Was that the bedroom of a 4-year-old? Did she ever have the bedroom of a 4-year-old? Like, we don't know what her past was like. There's so much we don't know. So I would also throw that out there, like how much of that was real as well. But yeah, that's maybe me thinking too deeply.
No, I think it's good too. This is the kind of film that you can really pick out.
Yeah.
So which is what I really like about it. What did you actually make of the more almost sci-fi body horror elements when she literally is becoming a swan? Like her legs become duck legs and her neck expands and all those kind of things.
Some of those, for example, like her toes becoming webbed.
Yeah.
That was sort of like body horror sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The bit where her neck got really long when Mila Kunis was strangling her, I laughed at.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
It just looked weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look painful or horrible because all you see of her is her neck.
Yeah.
It's just like, so she's now strangling a swan? What's going on
Were
here?
you waiting for us to get a beak?
I was-
I was so waiting for the beak to pop out. Like.
But the scene where she dances the Black Swan and she comes out and she does this amazing dance where her arms are just getting more and more covered in feathers, and then at the end it's revealed she's got these massive black wings. I thought that was my favourite scene of the film.
It was visually
beautiful.
Incredible. And at that point, suddenly you could feel exactly what the audience were feeling. Because I imagine this is a film that was made for people who don't know about ballet.
Oh, sure.
And so we can't see that the ballet in this film is very good or it's very bad, or we don't know.
That wasn't even the worst bit. There was a scene where she cuts her finger, like the skin.
yeah,
I hate those, yeah.
She pulls it back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, like that, I think that
No.
for me that was
That
one of
was
the worst bits.
gross.
Yeah,
It
same.
was just I can even remember that it was the sound, because we've all done that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we've all
Like made a little mistake.
like
Yeah.
that
you just-
skin and it's gone
yeah.
a bit, and you just like and.
Listeners, by the way, all three of us are shuddering and like holding our
Well,
fingers
yeah.
really tightly.
And I think that was the worst bit.
Same. I could hardly watch. I had to look
Yeah.
away. I had to look away at parts of that.
That was the worst bit. By the time it got to, I think there was so much sensory overload that I was not jumping. Jumping's the wrong word, but I was just wincing at anything because the way that Darren had used
Sorry, who?
sound, Dazaraza had used sound throughout the film, like I was just like on edge.
Yeah.
So by the time the fight, and also let's see if any listeners remember this. There was a series called Manimal back in the 80s, and this guy would be able to turn into any animal. So he used to turn into a panther. So when I saw her neck going, I thought, oh, this is like cheap 80s TV show. So I laughed at that bit, but the rest of it was really well done.
Yeah, no, those bits with the bits with the legs and the neck, they're the bits where it slipped into like camp for me, which isn't a bad thing. I love camp. And if you watch Mother for me is very, very camp. Mother is like all of the film is those scenes basically. So sometimes I do find Darren Aronofsky can be very camp in what he does. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad film. It's just that he always pushes it to such an extreme that it becomes humorous at times, like unintentionally so. I think.
Yeah.
Rough start, huh? Must have been pretty humiliating.
Get out of my room.
See, I'm worried about the next act. Just not sure you're feeling up to it.
Stop. Please stop.
How about I dance the Black Swan for you?
Leave me alone! It's my turn. My turn. My turn. It's my turn.
So Natalie Portman was always the one. She was always the one to play this role. She was the first
There
person
was
approached.
no one
No
else
question,
who would
no
have done
question.
it.
Keira Knightley.
She was too
The
young.
look-alike.
The look-alike. Yeah.
Listen, you've set me off now.
Oh dear.
No, because all that would have happened was she would have been like, I'm a ballerina, and then pouted. And that would have been 90 minutes of I'm a ballerina and pouted. Like, no, thank you.
No. So it was always, I agree.
That's
It was
not
always
settled.
Natalie Portman. However, some of the other roles were offered to, and I think Mila Kunis was one of the only people who really was seriously considered for Lily. So the Vincent Cassel character, the director, before Vincent Cassel was cast, also considered Antonio Banderas.
He would have been
yeah.
good.
The only thing I want to say about him is I don't see him physically. I imagine because I took the director to be a dancer himself, even though he's older. I don't think Banderas has a dancer's body. He's a bit more like stocky, like, so I'm not sure.
No, I thought he was quite slender. I think, but also that not lecherous is the wrong word. I think he would have taken it in an interesting direction because actually there's a sense of seduction that comes from it, and Antonio
Would really ramp that up, yeah.
like you think, okay, I can see like getting seduced by him.
Yeah.
Like so I think there would have been an element of seduction that would have been added by Antonio. I think.
And the other person in the running was actually Hugh Jackman.
No.
No, I'm out.
I don't think not right for that part.
Not at all. Not even slightly.
Too likable, I think.
Exactly.
Too
Yeah, he's too likable.
Yeah, I think he's either going to be like claws come out because he's Wolverine, or like singing and dancing like jazz hands. It's too much.
Yeah.
And also he's not a small guy, so I think there would have been a physical. I think someone being too physically menacing, I think would have taken away from it.
True, yeah.
I personally think.
And I think Vincent Cassel was perfectly cast because he was very sleazy. He was very French and that very sleazy French.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the only other bit of casting that changed was initially the role of the mother was supposed to be Meryl Streep. But then she was unavailable, and Barbara Hershey stepped in. So
You know, actually, I'm not for that.
no, I think she's too famous.
Yeah, I don't think that Meryl
Was
Streep
she,
would have
was she
been better
as
than that.
famous then?
Oh, Meryl, yeah, Meryl was it.
No, Meryl's always been. What I'm saying is, like, I think I could have seen it working, but the mother needs to be a background.
Yeah.
And I think Meryl is fantastic, but I don't think no matter what Meryl does, she can Meryl, me and Meryl, could have ever been a background person.
She's always the star.
Yeah. And I think Natalie needed to be the main focus.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
So I think all the casting was correct, but there were just some interesting little might have been. Yeah. So drinking games. Harry, do you have any?
Drink games indeed. Yes, I got a few.
Cool.
Oh gosh.
You got any?
No, you go first. No, you're trusty lads. I'm like,
Sorry, I showed more confidence then than I meant to. So I'd say drink every time that Natalie Portman's character is physically touched.
Physically touched by another character.
That's one theme that I noticed throughout this film is that she is touched by literally every main character in this film. They touch her at some point in some way. And I mean, there's only really one scene where she sort of touches herself and has control. And it's when she's masturbating, and then suddenly she turns around and her mum's there and she doesn't get that control. It really showed, like, when I watch the film, so you watch it as the friend who's telling them what to do.
Yeah.
When I watch films like this, I put myself in that character. And I felt really sort of closed in, and like there was just no freedom in the film at all, because there wasn't. She wasn't free.
She was free when she was stabbing someone, but
Sure.
yeah, okay. I think this is a hard one. It's the grim bits.
So I had drink for every scary Winona smash cut. Winona's not in this very much, but every time she's on screen, it's like, especially in the party scene, it's like smash cuts to her face. It's like, whoa, scary Winona, whoa, scary Winona. Like, it's just like quick cut to her face, and obviously she looks terrifying with the wig and the eyes and everything. And when she starts stabbing herself in the face, just waterfall. Like, yeah, that was hard. That was hard going. That was scary. Yeah.
Listen, I think a drinking James is drink when Winona, like.
Just drink to Winona.
Drink to the point that you were like crazy Winona. Because wherever she was in a happy place.
Yeah.
I think this is a film that, because there's no like real quotes. Maybe like drink every time she scratched herself or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Because it's not like a comedy, drinking games are supposed to be quite light-hearted. So it's just like, oh, drink when she's miserable. Oh, wait, she's miserable all the time. Drink when she's happy. Oh, never. So it's like, we don't know. But yeah, and maybe when she scratched herself, or drink like Winona.
Just drink for Winona's. Yeah. Drink for Winona.
drink
Just drink for Winona. Cheers.
Exactly.
For Winona.
Drink for Winona.
Any more, Harry?
Yeah, drink whenever she sees herself in somebody else.
Oh, like when there's when the doubling effect happens when you see her face. Oh, that's a good one. I had a similar one. This is probably
breaking up there, Ollie.
It's so not cheery at all. Like, drink every time she says.
Ollie, welcome to the podcast.
It's not cheery.
The aim of this game is not to be cheerful. It's to get as drunk as possible in 90 minutes.
If you are with a group of people, we're gonna watch Black Swan. Let's do a drinking game. Like, come on.
It's just how we do. Similarly, I had drink every time Natalie Portman stares dreamily into a mirror.
Yeah, she does that quite a lot.
Yeah, there's lots of mirrors in this. Yeah. I mean that could get you really, really drunk.
Yeah, it could. What about when she's looking in a mirror and she sees herself in a mirror? Do you drink twice?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then
when there's multiple mirrors, you drink for every mirror.
Just waterfalls.
Yeah.
You'd have to pause. Like, so the film would take ages. Like, I think there's 3. I think there's 4. So.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I also had drink for gross finger stuff. As you mentioned it. Just
drink to get through it.
Drink to distract from the gross finger stuff.
Drink whenever you look away.
Yeah,
you'll be out.
I would just be facing the wall with a bottle of wine, just like sipping away. That's a good one, actually. Drink every time you look away, or look away or wince.
Yeah.
So you have to try and keep it together, so you know it's coming. You're trying to control your body. That's a good one.
A very dangerous one. Drink every time you hear the Swan Lake refrain, the musical stuff.
Yeah.
It's even her ringtone. Does she never get sick of it?
I know. God.
There's like literally nothing else in her life.
Listen, we established she's got issues.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's
let her have this one.
Yeah. Maybe actually maybe it's not her ringtone. Maybe it's because it's so in her mind that her ringtone's actually like.
What do you think? It's just the regular Nokia one?
Yeah, but she's hearing it as.
That's all she hears. Yeah, I like it.
And finally, drink every time Barbara Hershey, the mother character, dramatically enters or leaves a room.
She's always like, there's no such thing as knocking.
No. She just walks straight in. But my favourite one is when Natalie Portman goes out partying with Lily and then she comes back and so she's doing that drunk thing where she's like shh and she's like locking the door and then you just see over her shoulder the mother just like appears from this like mist of shadows.
Yeah,
and just
fades
appears
in
in
the dark.
the room.
Oh, that's
so
great.
dramatically. I loved
So
it.
funny.
Or just every time a door is slammed because there's a lot of slamming of doors
Yeah.
and when it slams on her hand. Ooh.
Oh yeah.
That was rough. Yeah.
Well, that reminded me of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a theme at the moment. But those are all mine. Any more drinking games?
I've got them.
Cool. Should we move on to some sequels?
Yeah, let's do some sequels. I believe you're first this week.
Yeah, good.
And
Cool.
guest always goes in the middle.
That's our
Okay,
really
that's fine.
standard.
Fine with me.
we have a guest sandwich. So, did we agree that we all assume that she dies at the end? What was our conclusion on that? Then?
Yeah, I thought she died at the end.
You thought she died at the end?
Well,
You think it's
for
up for
mine,
debate?
she can't.
She can't. Okay. No. I was going to say same. Well, I interpreted it that she did, but for the purpose of my sequel, she did not.
I think at the time, I interpreted that she did.
Yeah.
But after thinking about the sequel, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because we're still not sure how much is real. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I think for the real film she probably did, but for the purposes of this sequel she did not.
Yeah.
So I've done a direct sequel, and it's set sometime after, probably about a year after the original film. So, as I say, in this version, Nina does not die at the end. In the original film, of course, she thinks she has a fantasy that she stabs Lily through the stomach and thinks she's killed her, and then figures out afterwards that she hasn't and she's actually stabbed herself. Does the whole second act with a shard of glass in her stomach, triumphantly finishes the dance, falls to the ground and is bleeding, and then all the characters run over to her. Film ends, and the last line is her going, "I did it, it was perfect," and then white fades to white. So in my version, this was not her demise, but she was obviously very badly injured by all of this, and so obviously she couldn't continue to dance and had to retire from ballet and undergo a year of intense physiotherapy to kind of recover from the terrible injuries, basically. So we pick up at this point, maybe about a year afterwards. She's in the process of recovering. She still lives with her mum, who is now her primary carer, even more so because now she needs a lot more care and attention. So this has really made things even worse in terms of the infantilization. Now her mother is literally just, running her entire life, every detail. And she's also put her on a cocktail of questionably legal mood stabilizing drugs.
This sounds really cheery.
This does get a little dark. I do apologise. Sometimes my sequels do. So yes, the mother is basically prescribing her. We don't know where she's getting these drugs from, but a lot of mood stabilising drugs to stop her from having these psychotic episodes that we assume were the problem in the first film. And the idea of this is, I'm thinking this Darren Aronofsky, Dazaraza, is going to direct the sequel, so it's going to have a very similar feeling, and the whole film is going to be inside Nina's head, like the first film. So the fact that she's on mood stabilizers is going to help to give it that similar kind of woozy, surreal quality where everything's a little bit slowed down, nothing's quite normal, nothing's quite right. So that's kind of the mood I'm going for. So that's try and imagine that if you can. Mm-hmm. So also the mother has completely forbidden her from ever even talking about ballet anymore. The conversation is off the table because ballet, it's too triggering for Nina, she believes. She will not address it. It's like, shut it down. We don't talk about that anymore. That was a dark chapter in your life, etc. However, we do see early on in the film that Nina still keeps a secret box filled with photos of her glory days at the ballet, and she also has her little music box that she spends a lot of time staring at dreamily and reminiscing about. Cause she still loves ballet. Ballet was her life, and she still dreams of those days, even though it went horribly wrong, etc. So yeah, one day we see she's leaving her physio class, and she's confronted by Thomas, the Vincent Cassel character, the French director, who's like waiting outside for her. He asks her how she's been, etc. And he asks her, do you think you're ready to start dancing again? And she kind of says, oh no, that's not really part of my life anymore. I can't go back to that now. And he says, Nina, you're a legend. That one performance where you almost danced yourself to death has made you the most famous ballet dancer in the world. Everyone wants to know when you'll come back to the stage.
The thing that I love is that his accent wasn't that strong as well. You weren't prepared, were you?
Sorry. So basically, long story short is, as you would expect, like the fact that a ballet singer literally almost danced herself to death and did this, what we understand to be a perfect performance, and then just almost died, has become a media sensation. So she is, even though she only gave one performance, she is infamous. And so the world is waiting for her to, there's a lot of press attention that she's not aware of because she's on this cocktail of drugs and she's very insulated, but she's actually become a real cause célèbre. Everyone's like, this mysterious woman who did this one legendary performance and almost died, and when is she going to return to ballet, etc. And so I'm going to drop the accent now, but he says to her like,
please keep the accent.
I don't know, I can't sustain it. It's like, We need you. Ballet attendance, it is low. Our shows, they lose money. With you, we sell out the entire season. So the idea is that...
Now it sounds like Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, I think I went a bit Hispanic there, yeah. Took a route from Paris right down to Madrid by way of Buenos Aires. It was Anyway, so the idea is basically, because ballet is a niche interest, and so the tickets aren't selling, and so he needs some stunt casting from Nina to revive the company, basically. So he's really trying to tempt her back. And she's tempted because, as we've established, she misses this world. She does miss that life somewhere deep down. But as she's kind of thinking about it, her mother pulls up to pick her up and runs up. Probably similar to in the original film where she doesn't see her coming, but she comes running from off camera or something and just grabs Nina, and she's like, "You stay the hell away from my daughter," to Thomas, and drags her into the car. You don't talk to him. That's from the past. Takes her home. See, the mother has become even more controlling than before. So obviously Nina, having had this temptation, can't get out of her head, and Thomas continues to secretly get in touch with her. He keeps following her around, waiting outside the physiotherapy thing. He texts, he calls her, just constantly saying to her, "We want you back, come back." He's really like the devil of temptation on her shoulder, essentially. And so she decides to secretly stop taking her medication. This kind of window to another life that she's been walking around like The Walking Dead for a year, but this kind of opportunity gives her the confidence to maybe rebel a little bit against her mum. So she stops taking the medication. She doesn't tell her mum she stopped. She fakes swallowing the pills, etc. She hides them or throws them up, who knows. And she finds that without the drugs in her mind is clearing, and she's starting to feel a lot more like herself. She has more energy, etc. And she starts secretly practicing again. And she does find that even though she's sustained a lot of injuries, her natural abilities do start to come back, and she starts to build in confidence. And that makes her start to realise that even though she was seriously injured, the reason she's been nothing for the past year is largely more due to all the drugs her mum's got her on. So she starts to really resent this and start to realise that her mother is abusing her. So she arranges a secret meeting with Thomas, who explains that they're launching the next season of the ballet with a production of The Nutcracker. Now, I've chosen The Nutcracker because I've heard of 2 ballets in my life, Swan Lake and The Nutcracker.
At least you're honest.
At least honest, yeah. Also, it kind of works. Have either of you seen The Nutcracker?
I have not seen The Nutcracker.
No? It's always on at Christmas.
I think I might have done it in a school play once.
Please tell me you played the Sugar Plum Fairy.
He must have.
Let's say I did. I don't know.
Great. Well,
if anybody from Llanidloes Primary School is listening, please help and see if you can find out if we did.
Are you sure you want to pull up that thread? Do you really want to dredge up those memories?
I want him to.
Yeah. Oh, I want to.
I want to.
Okay, cool. Well, tune in next week. We might have an answer to this. But yeah, so he explains to Nina he wants her to play the role of the Sugar Plum Fairy. And it's not the lead role in The Nutcracker. I did a little bit of research. But it's the most famous routine in the show. She does the one dance at the end of the ballet. So he says, "This is perfect for you, Nina, because you don't need to take too much on. You're not the lead, so it's not too much pressure. But it is the star turn, and it's a great bit of stunt casting. For us, people will come to see, the legendary Nina making her comeback as the Sugar Plum Fairy, as this classic iconic dance. Also, it's the opposite of Swan Lake in the sense that the Sugar Plum Fairy is a totally good, pristine character. She's a fairy. So the dance is all about grace and precision and all of the qualities that Nina naturally possesses. So she doesn't need to go to that dark place and, embrace that darkness or that wildness or that sexuality, because that's not what this character is. This is a very asexual, very precise. It's the kind of role she would have been perfect for before the events of Black Swan.
Yeah.
The Nutcracker, for those who don't know about it, including you two, or myself before Wikipedia is, it's a very simple story.
Again, thank you for your honesty.
Yeah. It's a very simple story about a little girl who's given a Nutcracker doll by a mysterious toy maker at Christmas. At night, the Nutcracker doll comes to life and it leads a battle of toy soldiers versus mice.
I was a soldier.
You
there
were
we
a soldier. Oh, that's disappointing.
Was this a play or a dance?
Was it a ballet?
It was a play.
A play, okay. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's been a play, it's been a film, it's been a ballet, but it's most known as a ballet.
I'd have been like 6.
Soldier number 6. I'm sure you killed as soldier number 6, though. I'm sure you were the star, really.
I mean, I was 6 years old, is what I meant.
Best supporting. Oh, you were 6, so I thought you meant you were the soldier number 6.
No.
Oh, soldier number 6.
That'd be...
You're
Oh,
not
God.
even number 5.
Oh.
You're soldier number 6. There's only 5 soldiers.
Yeah. Understudy soldier number 6.
Understudy.
So anyway, basically the story of it is that this Nutcracker doll comes to life and wages war with some mice, apparently. Sure, makes sense. The little girl, who's called Clara, saves his life in battle, and so he transforms into a handsome prince at the end of the battle and takes us to the magical land of sweets, which is ruled over by the Sugar Plum Fairy, who does this very famous dance and sends them on their way. And that's basically the plot. Not really a plot-heavy kind of story. Mm-hmm. It's a ballet. It's all about the dances. It's an iconic dance production.
It sounds weird.
Yeah. So that's the play, basically. That's the ballet. So she agrees, in theory, to be the Sugar Plum Fairy, and she returns to the studio and finds that since she's been away, Lily, the Mila Kunis character, has now become the principal dancer. And she is, in fact, she's been cast in the lead, so she's playing Clara, the little girl, who is always played by grown women, mostly in these ballet productions. So Lily is outwardly very friendly to Nina and welcomes her back and, says, I hope things are okay for you. But obviously there's still a bit of weird tension there, and Nina, being quite a paranoid person, isn't quite sure whether she's genuine or not. So it's still that real kind of ambiguity going on.
Just to clarify, how much did Lily actually experience of Nina? What?
We don't know.
Well, I took it that the club night happened, but she didn't go back with her.
Yeah, same. So they had a drink. Then the next day, Nina freaked out a little bit, and then a while later, she sort of shouted at her for getting the alternate role.
Yes.
That's it, right?
Yeah, they had that little heart.
Lily must think that she is mental.
Not really. Probably, like, I mean, ballet dancers.
Yeah.
It's quite an intense thing. So she probably just thought she was an uptight ballet dancer.
Yeah. Also, they do have that little heart-to-heart in the training room that time when they're smoking together and talking.
Oh, yeah, true.
And it seems like Lily is quite, even whether or not it's all interpretation, but Lily seems like quite a nice person, because there's a scene, after Nina thinks she's killed Lily in the film, there's a scene where Nina knocks on the door and says, look, I know things have been weird, but that dance was fucking amazing. And she's incredibly complimentary. So I got the sense that, it's going to be ambiguous. It's not supposed to say, in this sequel, you're not supposed to know one way or another, really, whether she's...
Okay, yeah.
But, yeah, as I say, she's openly very welcoming, but Nina is unsure. Anyway, so she accepts the role, doesn't tell her mum. Instead of going to physio, she's now going to the studio and rehearsing all day. But the pressure starts to get to her again as she starts rehearsing the role, but she gets very obsessive very quickly. She quickly goes back to old habits. And although Tomas, the director, initially promises it's going to be different, we're going to take it very easy on you, he very quickly reverts to type and starts pushing her very hard to get that precision back, because she's really struggling to retain, even though she's still a great dancer, she's really struggling to get that precision that she used to come so naturally to her. Now, ironically, is very difficult for her. She just, it's a process. And so he's very hard and drills her and gives her a hard time about that. So all the pressure starts to get to her. And once again, she starts exhibiting physical symptoms of the stress. And so this time, rather than the feathers thing, I think she should have, like, her skin starts, like, getting very cracked and dry to the point where it bleeds. So the idea was, for me, was that because she's just the sugar plum fairy, it's going to look like sugar paper on her skin. It's that kind of thing. It's going to be really crackly and horrible and unpleasant and nasty. Anyway, she starts getting all these physical symptoms. And the mother starts to become very suspicious very quickly. And she finds out that she's been sneaking away to rehearsals.
Sorry, are these real physical symptoms, or are they potentially fake?
I think it's probably a bit of both. It's like bad skin is, it could be that she's scratching again, or it could just be that she's, having a flare up, or it's ambiguous. But anyway, regardless, the mother does find out, because she's behaving strangely, sneaking off. She does become suspicious and finds out that Nina's been sneaking away to rehearsals, and the two get into a massive fight, and in which Nina accuses her of doping her and trying to control her life. It gets very, very physical, and then Nina tries to walk out, but the mother runs after her and kind of grabs her, and then Nina shoves her away, and the mother bashes her head against the wall and actually falls down dead. So Nina has accidentally killed her mother. So Nina's horrified, but she also immediately goes into denial, because obviously this happened with Lily, where she fantasized that she killed her and then figured out she hadn't. So she now thinks that that's happened again, that the mum's not really dead, it's just a fantasy. So she just leaves her mum's body in the apartment, goes to rehearsal for the day.
Sean does this, by the way. He does like to go dark. It's been a while, actually.
Well, we're talking about Black Swan.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It was never going to be a comedy for me. But, So she goes to rehearsal that day, and she's pushing herself harder than ever. She's really manically intense, to the point that the other girls get very concerned. And then she goes home, and the mum's body is still there. Yeah. So what she does is she hides it in the apartment. I'm thinking maybe it's like a bit of a psycho vibe. So maybe she like sits up in a chair and puts it in bed. And, like, yeah. So it's all very...
As though she's still alive.
As though she's still alive, yeah.
Oh, dear.
So she keeps her mum's death a secret. And I also thought that this would be something that you could do, because the film posited this very insular kind of life. You didn't get the sense that the mum had friends or that Nina had friends outside of the ballet. And so it could be this woman could go missing and no one would notice. So that's the vibe we're going for here. So she keeps her mum's death a secret, but she's obviously now sliding further and further in. Are you okay?
No. I'm enjoying this. Keep going. No,
Yeah.
That's my face enjoying it.
Okay,
like, what's
good.
next?
You look traumatised. So this has happened before with guests. I've not realised.
I'm loving it.
Yeah. So she keeps the mum's death a secret, but she's now sliding further and further into insanity with the pressure of the role, the fact that she's got a mum's corpse sitting up in an apartment.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's actually a reversal of the first film, like I said, where she's trying to be perfect, but she can't be, whereas in the last film she was too perfect, and that was the problem. In this one, she's trying to maintain this facade of perfection, but there's all this weird, dark stuff happening that's making it very hard for her. And yeah, and as I say, she doesn't even accept the mum is dead. So she's like, it's like Psycho, where she's coming home, she's talking to the mum, and she hears the mum talking back.
So it's almost like before she was perfect, but repressing the
Yeah.
darkness.
And now the
whereas
darkness is
is
taken
all out, and she's trying to get it all back
Exactly, it's a complete mirror image of the first film. So yeah, so now she's like talking to the mum's corpse, and then she hears answer back. It's very dark and twisted, very Psycho, very much like Psycho. So Lily, Mila Kunis, becomes quite suspicious of Nina's growing insanity, and
She's dead. She's dead.
She tries to spoilers, Ollie. So she tries to reach out to Nina. Maybe they start hanging out a little bit, and maybe this is the point. Again, it's like in Psycho where Norman Bates befriends the late Janet Leigh's character, and it's like you get a glimpse of potentially this could be a healing thing if he wasn't already so far gone. So they start hanging out, and maybe Nina's crush resurfaces a little bit, and maybe there's a little bit of sexual tension there. But then on the night before the opening performance of the Nutcracker, Lily turns up at Nina's flat unexpectedly. Big mistake. And Nina obviously starts acting very strange. It's like, you can't come in. But Lily isn't having any of it, and she forces her way in, sees the mother's corpse, and is obviously horrified, screams. And in a panic, as you predicted, Nina kills Lily. Bashes her on the head or something, yeah. So then Nina goes to the show, and it's a huge press event. It's a packed house. There's journalists, audiences. That's it. It's her big comeback. It's her moment. And Lily's disappearance, because obviously she was in the lead, has caused a lot of concern. But the show must go on, so her understudy takes the role instead, with Nina going on as the Sugar Plum Fairy. And Nina goes on stage and delivers a perfect dance once again. She is the Sugar Plum Fairy. It's remarkable. She's just incredible. And then the movie ends with her delivering her triumphant final bow to the crowd, rapturous standing ovation, flowers. You see her smiling, but the smile is cracked. The skin's cracking around her lips and stuff. It's kind of grotesque. And just as the credits fade in, you just hear the sound of police sirens in the distance. And that's the end of the film.
That was so cheery.
So I'm so sorry. That went to some dark place.
That was great. No, that's a good. Everyone's getting killed. So there we go.
Yeah, John does that. There was a time where he wrote a story that some of it took place in our local pub, and he in fact took the pub cat, which he has a bit of a feud with in real life. We've
reconciled.
He took the pub cat in his story and he microwaved it.
Only in the story.
That man's got some issues.
Well, so listen. From the first film, can you see Nina doing this stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not far-fetched.
It's within character, yeah, but it's...
See, that Lily was fool. Even then, I was like, Lily's foolish. Why are you going around that girl's house?
Yeah. You're the best friend again. You're like, get out!
No. Stay away from her.
Any questions?
That's great.
What was it called again?
Oh, it was just called The Nutcracker. Yeah. I mean, The Nutcracker really exists. Maybe it's like, I don't know, Black Nutcracker doesn't work. I don't know.
No, I think The Nutcracker could work.
But just The Nutcracker, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
So, Black Swan 2 The Nutcracker.
Like copyright
Sure.
issues.
Well, I'm pretty sure whoever owns the rights to The Nutcracker might not be thrilled about this, but just anyway, yeah.
Obviously, we're not thinking a real film's going to be made.
No, I don't. I'm working on this.
Until someone approaches us.
That you're listening.
Yeah. So, would you like to?
You did such detail in yours. So, I've gone more light-hearted.
Sure,
thank
good.
God.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah. Wow. I just need a minute.
Sure.
So basically, I'm thinking the sequel will be Black Swan: Urban Redemption.
Okay,
Ooh,
I like it
Already.
already.
Exactly.
Drinks.
You're intrigued. Now, I want you to imagine Dangerous Minds.
Oh, okay. Have you seen Dangerous Minds?
You're drinks, so I'm meeting you.
Oh no.
Dangerous Minds meets Bring It On.
Ooh, like it.
And there'll be a bit of Save the Last Dance thrown in there.
Love it.
Because you know what? It was too dark. It was, too much misery, too much wow. So there's not going to be any crazy Winona.
Okay.
No,
Oh.
she's got. She might show up, just for laughs.
Maybe it's like, I've been in rehab, I feel great now.
Yeah, just for laughs. The mum's not going to feature. Lily will though.
Okay, good.
So it's a lot more light-hearted. Think of those films directed by Judd Apatow.
Sure.
So that's where we're going. So Nina hasn't died.
Okay.
And she wakes up in hospital a few weeks later.
Okay.
And basically, you survive, but New York City Ballet It's a no.
Yeah.
So she's has to go to her aunt.
Okay.
Now, I haven't cast this, but I imagine her aunt will be someone like...
How big of a character is this aunt? Is she going to be a main character in the film, or
So
is she
she'll
secondary?
be there in the background. You know, do you remember those films?
Okay, so we're still not casting Meryl then. That's
No, we're not casting Meryl. No. It's a feel-good film. So
Okay.
this is feel-good.
Meryl can do feel good.
No, but it's
Never
not.
speak ill of Meryl
So
in
it's-
front of Harry.
This is a comedy feel-good moment,
Okay.
you know. So I want a real contrast. So I'm trying to think I'll think of who the mother could be.
Okay.
The person that comes to mind is Cookie Lime from Empire.
Oh, Taraji P. Henson.
Taraji P. Henson, but
Get her
that
in.
sort of it could be
Yeah.
an adoptive aunt.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm thinking someone like that, someone who's a bit sassy, and will tell the truth, because this girl needs someone
home
who's
truths.
going to like, what is
I
this?
think that's solid casting.
She needs someone like that. So, but she goes to the inner city. This is obviously going to be a bit cheesy. We're going back to the 90s, so bear with me. And so obviously she can't be a ballet dancer, so she becomes a teaching assistant in an inner city school. And so she's a teaching assistant, you know, she's all healed up. There'll be one scene where she talks about ballet, but she'll give a longing look, but we ain't going back there.
Okay.
We're leaving that alone. We saw what happened there. But the school has a dance team. So it's not cheerleading, it's a dance team.
Right.
Yeah. And they need help because there's going to be a dance competition and they're not very good. And they hear that Nina used to do the ballet. They call it the ballet.
The ballet, sure.
She used to do the ballet. And they think, oh, you know, you can do some things. And obviously, she's got to show that she can do it. So she'll do like a high kick just to show she's good at it. She'll do something impressive or a turn or something. But I'm like, wow.
Is this giving Natalie Portman an opportunity to be fun? Because she's not often she doesn't often
this
get a
is-
chance to be fun, does she?
Exactly. This is gonna be fun.
Okay.
So because it's okay to go to the club. It's, you know, don't stab anyone. Nobody's getting stabbed. Okay. It's going to be light-hearted, so we're just going to shelve some stuff because I think it's clear that Nina had some issues.
Yeah.
So we're just going to pretend the stabbation helped her. Obviously, I think that stuff's serious, but this is a nice light-hearted film. So as part of getting herself some extra money, she's going to help this dance team. And obviously the dance team are terrible. And you've got the classic characters. You've got the sassy black girl, the meek white girl, you know, you've got the whole array.
I'm getting a bit of a Pitch Perfect
Yeah,
vibe as
so
well. Yeah.
it is. Essentially, you've got the array of people, and, you know, they're not a team and all of that. And, you know, she's like, look, do you want to be the best or anything? And, you know, she has that issue because she still wants to be the best. They're like, what can you do? And she jumps into the splits or something, you know, to show she can do it. And it
I love this.
So they start training. And Taraji P. Henson's like, look. Are you sure you should be going down to dancer? Because last time someone got stabbed. Do you know what I mean? Like, we saw what happened last time. Like, and she's like, no, I can handle it, you know. So she helps train these girls, and, you know, she becomes very maternal, you know, because the girls have problems. Either the boy doesn't want to be with her, or there's one that the mother's not very nice, and she can speak from her own experience and how she got out from under her. We're just going to assume the mother's out of the picture. We won't go into loads of details about it, but the mother's out of the picture. Sure. Anyway, 2/3 of the way through, Lily appears.
Okay.
Lily comes in, and Lily's been looking for her. And I want this to be a chance to expand on Lily's character, because actually I think there's a real warm-heartedness. And actually there was, jealousy is the wrong word, but a real admiration. So I'm going to make it that Nina was more well-known.
Sure.
And that the reason Lily went to New York City Ballet was because of Nina.
Right, okay. She
So
idolised her.
She idolised her. And to sort of, whereas she was seeing paranoia, what it was Lily really admired her. In terms of relationship, we're going to leave that open-ended. Okay. You know, could something get cracking between them? Who knows? We're going to leave that open-ended. We'll leave that as an unanswered question. But she finds her, and obviously Nina's like, whoa, what are you doing here? And there's still that sort of... And then they have a conversation of, I've missed you. You know, Lily was like, the reason I came to New York City Ballet was because I admired you so much. And we find out her performance was worldwide. Like, people went crazy for it.
Sure.
But then this is where she has her own redemption and finds freedom. So obviously there's the rival schools.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we get to the dance performance and Lily helps because she helps choreograph the dance. And this is when things get a bit cheesy. There's always the school that wins and you know, you're rubbish, you know, and there's always like bad attitude, and then it's got to be the speech, and this is when Nina deals with her issues. You know, I thought I was rubbish too, and I spent my life, you know, so focused on this that I missed teamwork, you know, because you've got to throw in the teamwork, you know. And she gives a speech, you know, this is about teamwork. This isn't about individuals. Now they have great individuals, but what brings you is the teamwork. And actually, with the things that I've taught you, you know, but there's always a fusion. You know, they're hip hop dancers, but she's going to bring some technique, you know.
Bit of classical in there.
And get some classical, you know. They always do the mashup.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they
yeah.
always do the mashup. So it starts off, you know, like grimy hip hop, then you know, they get into the formation and they're doing these kicks and stuff like, whoa! And, you know, they're on the bleachers. You know, it's not highbrow competition. It's like done in schools. And Taraji P. Henson's there like, yeah, girl, you can do it. You know, so that's the competition. And, you know, obviously originally she was doing it for extra money, but she really grows to love these girls. And actually, she gets to nurture these girls in a way she was never nurtured. And Lily chooses to stay. So they stay in the inner city and they end up living together. And obviously they win the competition. And that's the story. But also... another line of that is her love of dance.
Sure.
So you see scenes of her, like when she finds out her performance, because she shut that out, she just chose not to look at anything, and then she reviews how she did, and she starts to think about why she started dance, and then you get scenes of her dancing by herself, and actually she then starts teaching ballet, but she never goes back to
The dark place.
New York City Ballet. It's actually, this is why I love dancing. And
so she finds the joy of dance.
She finds the joy of dance.
Terror of it.
She finds an actual friend. The mum's not there, and also, you know, there's no death.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting killed or stabbed. No.
I feel this is a bit of a judgment on me at this point.
Wow, you know, no one's going. There's no butchering here. And you know, there's the competition at the end. So yeah. So, and obviously with Judd Apatow, even though some of his stuff's quite crass, he is quite good at character formation in his stories. The first film was so much about Nina, and this one is about there's a world outside of ballet, there's a world of people, and so you get to know who Lily really was.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's a ballet dancer, but she's a lovely girl. So that's my story.
I like it.
It was good.
Yeah. Very contrasting to mine.
Yes.
Extremely
Well,
so.
that's part of the reason I was making noises. Like, why is she going to the house? So, whereas mine's just like, you know, it sort of contrasts. You know, Black Swan was quite grey. You know, quite grey, and almost like, so it's a stark contrast of like real Technicolor, really like colourful. You know, even though you're going into like urban redemption because it's about redeeming the school, but also her own redemption in a new place away from that world.
Yeah,
I can see that being made, and I would love it if it was still directed by Darren Aronofsky. So, in spite of everything, it would be really surreal and bizarre.
I think that's sweet, but I think let's go for lighthearted.
Lighthearted, okay.
Let's let you know, no one's turning into a bird. Winona's not anywhere. No, she can have a cameo. I imagine her coming to like the final performance, but you know, she snuck that bottle of wine.
Yeah.
She loves, and the wig's still crooked.
Yes.
So, but yeah, that's my sequel.
Very good.
Oh, I like
it
it
a lot. I can definitely see that being made.
So much fun in the drums.
All right.
I mean, you didn't set a high bar on a fun level.
No, fair. I wasn't going for fun.
I think yours was brilliant.
Thank you.
I think that's a film Darren would make.
Yes.
But after watching Black Swan, like, come on, she needs a TV.
Yeah.
Something.
I think mine is one that Darren Aronofsky would make. Yours is one that people would watch.
All right, well, if we can get into mine, if that's
Yes,
all right.
sure, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Mine, I feel like it's going to be somewhere in the middle of your two ideas.
Okay,
That
cool.
might be a good thing in some ways. It might be a bad thing in other ways. Like, it might just be boring. Who knows?
Well,
We don't know.
We'll
But-
see how much murder there is.
yeah.
But it gets off to a start. That might be okay. So it starts in a club in the 80s.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now, this is somewhat inspired by the fact that we both watched Saturday Night Fever recently.
True. That was the 70s, you know that, right?
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Which has many dance sequences in discos.
It does, yes.
So this one's going to start in a very colourful disco with a... Well, here I've put down a digitally altered teenage Winona Ryder.
Okay, sure.
Because we always make these films as though they're made in like 2018 now. Unless you could think of anybody else who you could recast Winona Ryder as.
No.
There's no one who can replace Winona. Winona is she's Winona. Like who could be?
That's why I've said to just de-age her,
Is
because
the wig still crooked? That's what I want to know.
different wig. It's an 80s wig. It's a crooked 80s wig.
Crooked.
she can be wearing a wig, but it's not crooked right now.
Okay. Oh, she's in a good place. Is that what we're saying? Right?
So she's a teenager, like 18, 19 sort of age. She's in a club, and we start off with a single shot dance sequence.
Great.
She's dancing on the dance floor. There's other people there, but she's not dancing with anybody. She's dancing completely by herself, and she's lost in the music and lost in
I
the
don't think I've ever
dance.
seen Winona Ryder dance, but I really want to.
I know. Can you imagine?
Oh wait, she does dance in Beetlejuice. So
Sure. Yeah, and so she's completely in her own world, having the best time, and she's just come there by herself. She's not even with anybody.
yeah.
From a balcony above, we see a younger Thomas.
Okay, Thomas, the French director. Yeah.
Yes, who have not DA'd for this because he's recastable.
Sure. Yeah.
So I thought I'd cast somebody who'd be about the right age, and I've cast Chris Hemsworth.
He's a bit bulky for that role, surely.
Wait, for Tomas?
Yeah.
What?
Is he playing a teenager as well?
Tomas is
Okay,
Chris
okay.
Hemsworth's my height.
Is he?
He's a tiny bit shorter than me.
In films,
so,
maybe.
For those of you who don't know, I'm 6'6".
Jesus.
We're
In
terrified right
films,
now.
maybe. I mean, Tom Cruise is 6'6" when in films, isn't
Tom
he?
Cruise is not 6'6" in any film.
Okay, sure. We can recast this guy if you want,
Okay, sure.
but I need a similar-looking other person as well.
Well, someone who looks like Chris Hemsworth.
So it's somebody who looks
What
like the person
about
you
Henry
cast.
Cavill, the new Superman?
Henry Cavill. Yeah.
Henry Cavill, yeah? Wait, sorry. You're not letting me cast Chris Hemsworth because he's too tall and because you say he's too bulky, so we're going with Superman.
No, but he's not. No, but well,
He's
now-
not like.
Now he bulked up for Superman. I mean, do you want like weedy Superman? He bulked up for Superman, but whereas Chris Hemsworth is naturally larger, Henry isn't as large.
Yeah.
Not as large as Chris Hemsworth. Why don't you just hire The Rock?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me get a few paragraphs in and we'll see if we can recast.
Okay, sure. Okay, continue.
So, from a balcony above, Chris Hemsworth, or Tomas, is watching her dance.
Sure.
With a big smile on her face, just like, I found the new person. That's sort of look on his face, at least. As she leaves the club at the end of the night, he approaches her and says that he's very impressed by how fluid she was and how just like a part of the dance she is. And he'd like her to come on audition to be part of his new ballet company.
Cool.
She's a very shy character. She doesn't talk much.
Okay.
She's very quiet.
So she's the classic, quiet, shy, nerdy girl who secretly loves to dance, and she burns when she dances. Kind of.
Yeah.
Great.
Right. Okay.
So she then goes home and is welcomed by her boyfriend.
Okay.
So bear in mind, she's been out just by herself to dance and her boyfriend's not there. And it's not like she's going out meeting guys or anything. She's got this hobby that she loves.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend, now for him I've cast Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, I see what we're doing here.
The reason is I need these two characters to be quite similar.
Okay. You could have Henry Cavill playing dual roles. That's always fun. Like in different wigs.
That'll get too confusing.
So, question: is this like a serious film?
Yes.
Let's go with them for now because they're just quite tall, and Tomas isn't as tall. That's the only thing. So
True.
You know,
Well, let's
fake Winona's going to be like this. Like, look, carry on. So we'll use them.
Yeah, let's carry on and see how we go. Also, I need a title for this
Imagine
thing. I've
being
not really got
Chris
a title.
Hemsworth at 20 and Vincent Castle at 40. What? It's a journey. It's a journey.
A journey I want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's a bit talkative with him, but she's still like she's very quiet and she doesn't raise her voice much or anything. But even when she's excited, she'll talk like that. I'm very excited. This is great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the next morning, she goes to the audition. She walks in and she finds a reception. She gets shown down the corridor to a waiting room where she finds about 20 to 30 other girls who all look exactly the same as her. Same height, same weight, everything. And
Is it a room full of digital Winonas? Like being John Malkovich.
Okay, perhaps a bit far, but...
Are you still on the right film?
Being John Malkovich remade with Winona Ryder.
Oh my god.
Winona.
Anyway, come on.
Sorry.
And so she's taken aback a little bit because at this point she felt really special. Just like, oh my god, he picked me. Out of everybody in the club, he picked me and like, I'm going to be the one. And then she comes and she's just one of a bunch. And there's loads of people there. So she has about a half-hour wait there where she's just looking at everybody, sort of judging them, just like, what's she here? It's not okay. In her head. And eventually she gets taken into this room, which is a large dance class. And there are 3 people behind the desk, Thomas being one of them. She gives him a big smile. He gives her like the subtlest of nods. Just sort of acknowledge that she's there, essentially. An instructor comes, starts giving her a bit of a lesson on ballet dancing, essentially. They've already worked out she doesn't have a background in ballet dancing, but Thomas
She's
is
naturally gifted. He's spotted her naturally.
Yeah. She finishes that. They all write something down and they say, right, okay, if you could just go and step outside and just wait there for a while and we'll invite you back in for an interview once we've gone through all the other girls. And so sometime later she comes in with an interview with Thomas. He's very withdrawn. He's not at all like the guy from the night before. So maybe the guy from the night before was a bit of a salesman, whereas now he's been his real self, where he's a bit sort of a bit harsh, a little bit intrusive with his questions as well, all of which she answers. And well, that all seemingly goes well, and she still kind of she can feel something for him. There's definitely a heat between them of some kind. But even so, she goes back home, unloads everything onto Liam Hemsworth, just tells him everything, explains her day. Next day, she's invited back in, and she's actually having lessons. So she passed that first stage.
Okay.
And she's now having lessons with about 10 other ballerinas, all with Thomas, who is extremely strict, and he's horrible, and he's demanding, but she still absolutely wants him. So one of the other ballerinas is played by Mila Kunis.
Okay, interesting.
And I'm just going to leave this completely open to interpretation to see what it is.
So it can't be the same girl unless there's some kind of weird time travel going on.
Maybe there's something. There's
Okay.
there's something weird going
Is it
on.
the same name?
Is she called Lily? Yeah.
I didn't actually clock that she was called Lily in the first film. So yeah, I guess maybe, or maybe the name's just not said. I don't know.
Do you have an idea of what you want it to be?
I've left it open.
Okay.
I've left it completely open. Yeah, and Mila Kunis, she's really sort of playing up to Thomas. Like, she's really trying to get his attention, and so Winona Ryder's getting a bit jealous of this, and she sees that like there's definitely something going on with those two. She's not happy with it, and she's trying to do the same. It doesn't work.
So they're competing for his affection.
Also, they know that he's building up to a show, and there is going to be a casting announcement sometime down the line. So everybody wants the best part of seeing. It's not going to be Swan Lake, because he did actually mention it in the film, but I forget what ballet it was. But
in the original film?
Yeah, in the original film, he mentioned what his first show was.
And it wasn't Swan Lake? Oh, okay.
I forgot what it was. I wish I'd looked it up. After the class is over, Winona confronts Mila and asks her, well, what her problem is. And they get in an argument, and then this is the first time in the film that we actually see Winona proper freak out, raise her voice.
Winona out, essentially.
Yes.
She Winona's
go mental.
Right.
Straight in Mila Kunis' face. He's just like, whoa, I'm staying out of that. So we then get a bit of a montage over the coming months of these lessons going on and how everybody's relationships are developing, and those two are still both sort of trying to impress this guy more than anybody else, and they're clearly the best two dancers.
So this montage is establishing their rivalry.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then we pick up the night before the casting announcement.
Okay.
Both of them independently, they follow Thomas to a bar.
Oh.
Where they both arrive and then see each other, and then they both go to him together and start trying to seduce him, because they think that's the only thing that's left to set them apart. They both think that they're going to seduce him, so they need to do it. And what happens is, well, they try that for the evening. It's quite awkward. We see how Winona Ryder is just losing all her dignity. In fact, we could probably say they're both losing all their dignity, but I feel like Mila Kunis has got the confidence with it.
Yeah, we know Mila Kunis can pull off that kind of sexy, and Winona Ryder's character is more timid, and it doesn't come naturally. So is this going to be played for laughs, kind of thing? Okay, cool.
So is this comical?
I wouldn't say so. No, I would say this is more sort of
cringe.
Oh God, Winona, what are you doing?
No.
And then at one point, Winona goes away to the bathroom or to get a drink or something. She comes back, and well, the two of them are snogging.
Oh no.
She absolutely freaks out. She runs outside, she's crying, she runs down the street, and it fades to black. It then picks up at essentially the end of a scene where Winona is in a corridor in the back of the club with him, and she's just finished giving him a blowjob.
Oh. Winona has all.
Yes, Winona has. And it's just like her lowest moment. We
So I missed something. So she saw him kissing... Thomas was kissing Mila Kunis.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to another scene in which Winona is giving Thomas a blowjob.
Yes.
So how did she get rid of Mila Kunis?
So we've just jumped in there.
We're going to find out.
Okay.
No, not particularly, but just maybe Mila Kunis wasn't there or anything like this.
So the sight of her kissing him made her so desperate that she realised she had to go one further and give him a blowjob.
Essentially, yes.
Cool, I get it, continue.
Which is something she said in the film, in Black Swan.
Oh, wait, she did? Did you suck his cock to get the role? Oh, I see now where it's all coming from. Okay, continue.
So that happens, and we see her face, and she is just a broken person. She's not the happy person who was dancing in the club at the start of the film. The lovely person who doesn't speak, she's very quiet, and that's all gone completely.
She's been hardened.
She's a changed person now after that. And then it's just a straight cut again. That's a very brief cut we see there. The next point, the announcement happens. She's the lead role of this ballet. And then we straight cut to where the ballet actually happens. We see this amazing show. We see Winona doing some incredible ballet.
Yeah.
Pirouette. the moves.
Yeah.
Definitely some, more of that. As an audience, we've all seen that it's absolutely amazing. The crowd is going crazy. The curtain comes down. She looks to side stage and she sees Thomas there, and she sees her boyfriend there as well.
Ooh.
And so we see that they're both together. She's overjoyed at this point. She's just done the best thing that she's done in her life, that she's been trying so hard for, and she's given up so many of her morals and stuff for.
Mm-hmm.
And she runs towards them, and we don't know who she's going to go for, who she's going to hug or whatever.
Yeah.
And at the last moment, she goes for her boyfriend instead.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a bit of a hug. They then have a sort of a slow dance across the stage while the crowd are applauding through the closed curtain. And we have a nice, clever little camera trick that sort of fades it into them just dancing in, I don't know, a club or something to a nice, happy romantic song.
Okay.
So a bit of a bittersweet end there.
Oh, I see. So we see she does end up with a boyfriend, but we know that it's not going to last because in the next film she's going to be this broken woman. Yeah. Oh, so that's why you wanted the two Hemsworth, because you wanted the Thomas and the boyfriend to look similar, so there's that doubling thing again.
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted it to be just like, so she's got a type or something, or just like who's she going to be.
And Mila Kunis, it just is cast again because it's that same thing. She plays
she's
the
rival.
She's the rival.
Yeah.
She's the same character, even though it's a different person. Okay, I like it. That's good. That's got layers. That's interesting. Yeah.
That's interesting. And it's almost like a repeated.
Yeah, the cycle continues.
The next person will be, and it'll be Mila who's.
That's one thing that I really thought of with Winona Ryder's character in Black Swan, was that she just said, this is going to be you, like in 10 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's just the same again and again and again. Like, has he called you Little Princess yet?
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's always going to be the same.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'd like to get across with that.
Wow.
So it's a prequel.
Yeah.
I like it. A Winona Ryder origin story.
Yeah.
I like it. Always here for that.
And we get to see bits of crazy Winona.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot more fleshing out that needs to happen now, but
I think it's got real potential.
It's got some legs.
Oh, that's good.
Excellent.
I still am not convinced by Chris Hemsworth, and you're hiring Thor.
I'm the same there, but I couldn't think of two actors who looked more alike without being
they do
identical.
Look alike. No, they do look alike, but we'll have to think about that.
Yeah,
but
maybe listeners can send us some suggestions about actors that look alike.
They don't necessarily have to be brothers; they just have to look alike.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have to be blood relatives. Just actors who kind of look the same.
And vaguely that age.
Yeah, sure.
This is good. I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool, thank you. I really do feel like I hit bang in the middle of your moods.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, wow, yours was brilliant, but wow, I thought Black Swan was dark, but that's a feel good compared to yours.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was that.
See, the thing, as mentioned, you're like, what, 6'7", did you say?
Yeah.
And I'm 5'6". I feel like you fear me right now more than I fear you.
No, my face was the face I was pulling when I was watching Black Swan.
Yeah.
No, she's not going to the house. No! Like, I'd be the friend in that film. I'm going to go to Nina's house. Are you crazy? That girl's crazy. She stabbed herself. No. Stay away. But yeah, so it was good.
Okay.
I liked it.
No, yeah, I can definitely see that. And I'm always happy for Winona to get work, so yeah.
Yes.
Get him a job.
Yeah, but just keep her in
Think
gainful
about it.
employment.
How much Winona's last starring role?
In a film.
Yeah, film or TV
Stranger
really. Because
Things.
like,
Stranger Things
Stranger
she's
Things she's
supposed
quite
to.
big in, but I wouldn't say that she's the main character.
Probably not since like Girl Interrupted or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, but
In like a
but
mainstream
it's
successful film. Yeah.
It's because
Yeah, she had some problems.
she's got problems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
help her pay that mortgage.
Should we get to some listener submissions then? Unless there are any more questions about Harry's. Yeah. But no, I would like to see that.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so listener submissions. This was a good week. So once again, we had a few kind of plays on the title, kind of sequel ideas. We have Black Swan Heroes Unite. In this sequel, the Black Swan takes her rightful place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can see it. I mean, Natalie Portman's already technically in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
So basically, her turning into a bird was
her
superpower.
X-Man power, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she's the Black Swan.
I like it. So sort of to mirror Black Panther in some way, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. If I'm in danger, I want Black Swan to come help.
Yeah. That'd be great. Pitch Black Swan. It's set in the Chronicles of Riddick universe.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Meet Joe Black Swan. That's good. That was Ollie Brady came up with that one.
Oh,
Meet Joe Black Swan. Deaf takes a holiday, but decides he wants more than just a change of location. He wants a new career, and he's not going to stop till he gets it.
I like it.
Have you seen Meet Joe Black?
Yeah.
So you know that, that's Brad Pitt plays Deaf. So.
Yeah.
Dennis Fanning suggested Lego Black Swan.
Ooh.
Might be dark and twisted.
That'd be really good. That's a good Lego movie shout.
No, not
Yes.
for children.
Not for little Beatrice.
No, not for little Beatrice, exactly.
Oh, bringing it back.
Okay. Claire McCallan at Manic Pixie 88 has gone for something quite out there, I'd say. I like it. Hers is called Black Thong. And she says, you think ballet is competitive? Clearly you've never had to share a washing machine with two other ambitious garments. So this story is a tale of two thongs, one white, one black. Who wins? No telling. But put it this way, there's also a red sock in the mix.
Two thongs.
Two thongs, as in women's underwear. Yeah.
I thought when she said black thong, I thought, oh gosh, it's going to be like on the pole or something. Like,
no, it's literally like a Toy Story thing, a Pixar thing. It's like a black and a white thong in a washing machine.
I apologise.
I
apologise. I think it went somewhere else.
Wow.
So that was quite something.
Mm-hmm.
Blokebusters, their idea at Blokebusters, theirs is Rainbow Swan. It's a story about a boy trying to come to terms with wanting to do ballet and the stigma surrounding that, and shit, that's Billy Elliot's.
Good, I'm glad they said it.
Yeah. Media Realness at Media Realness, theirs is Grey Swan, and it's the same movie but seen from the point of view of all the other members of the cast who just see her just being totally crazy and making out with herself and behaving like
she's making out with herself.
Yeah.
Now that is a film I'd watch.
So I think this is a film like starring your character, like the best friend, like, or I think it's supposed to be like the male dancer who doesn't really have many lines. Like, he's like, what the hell? Like this girl is
What's
crazy.
Wrong? Oh, that's Crazy Nina.
Yeah. Mark Miller at Best Mark Miller. There's no title, but the sequel is set 20 years later. Nina has gained about 30 pounds, and she's running a dance studio for toddlers in Long Island. She's crazy as ever and still competing with her inner demons, who also run dance. With her inner demon, who also runs a dance studio in the same town. So I don't know if that means it's a split personality or if the inner demon is Lily, but they each have the same students who also have split personalities. So I guess she's like training the next generation of messed up kids, basically. So dark.
That sounds cheery.
Yeah, that's definitely for my side of things.
Yeah.
BS Pod PHX. I don't know what that stands for. Purple Swan. A down on her luck ballet dancer has an obsession with all things Prince, and begins to believe that she is in fact him. The movie ends with her performing a ballet version of Purple Rain.
That sounds like a Coen Brothers film.
Yeah, it does.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Cinema Recall at Cinema Recall just suggests a true fact that Black Swan and The Wrestler, another Darren Aronofsky film we didn't talk about, they are supposed to be mirrors of each other because they both have very similar storylines when you think about it.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Wrestler?
Nope.
I've not seen it. I will.
No, well, it's the same thing. It's like set in this, that's wrestling with Mickey Rourke, this is ballet with Natalie Portman, but they're both these very insular worlds, basically. And the idea is that what you have to give your entire life to attain that physical stamina. So Cinema Recall suggests that the sequel takes place in the same universe. Maybe they cross paths somewhere. Yes.
Makes sense.
They become buddies?
Maybe, yeah. Unlikely buddies, yeah. And finally, False Starts Pod at False Starts Pod. Black Swan 2 It was all real. She definitely was turning into a swan. The movie is just 2 hours of swans swimming on a lake, like those really slow Norwegian TV shows about open fires and stuff. So just literally just swirling around.
And the winner is...
I think that's, yeah. Nice. I think that might be the best one.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. They were all really, really good.
That's less distressing
Yeah.
than the original.
Definitely. So if you have a sequel idea for Black Swan, or for any movies we've done in the past, or if you have any suggestions for movies you'd like to hear us do in the future, please get in touch. We are Beyond the Box Set. You can find us on beyondtheboxset.com, or you can find our podcast on all good podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. And also, if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find us on most forms of social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search Beyond the Box Set on any of those formats and get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. If you really like the show, hit subscribe for a new episode every Friday morning, and leave us a review because it really helps us to find new listeners. And Ollie, thank you very much for joining us this week. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, is there anything you'd like to plug?
No, I just realised, like, because when I hear these podcasts, like, oh, you can find me, you really can't find me.
No.
But
I can give you his number.
Oh, wow.
07.
But yeah, so no, there's nothing I'd like to plug, but I'd like to come back.
Sure.
You're very welcome.
Always welcome.
I've got many ideas.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely be back at some point. It's been great. You've definitely done us proud. And we're sorry if... Well, I'm sorry personally. I'd like to personally apologise.
Do not be sorry.
For traumatising you.
No, that was brilliant. I was like, wow. Wow, you went there. Cool. You went all the way there. So thanks.
Cool. So next week... Is it a special
everybody,
one?
it is our 50th episode. The big 5-0.
Can't believe we made it this far. We're middle-aged, Harry.
Well, one of us is.
Wow. It's our 50th and last episode. It's our farewell episode of Beyond the Box Set.
So for our 50th episode, I wanted to do something a little bit special, which is a film which is quite close to my heart and always has been, and it is Forrest Gump.
That's because Harry's slow.
Oh, I mean,
you started it. You started it.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Crikey. Yes. You right there?
Wow, carry on.
This is how it goes.
This is our dynamic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every week.
Shots fired. Carry on.
So yeah, Forrest Gump next week. It's going to be a good one. We hope.
I imagine it was our worst ever episode.
Oh dear.
What a disappointing 50th. No.
Yeah, it'd be worth tuning in for.
Probably. We hope. They're all worth tuning in for.
That's my sales pitch.
Cool. Good. Strong words.
Thank you.
So yeah, tune in next week for episode 50, Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah.
And until then, it's goodbye from us. And goodbye, Ollie. Thanks again. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. Right.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.